and thanks for joining us for News Bulletin. With me, Tandy and Zamara. Let's take a look at our top stories. Pope Francis to preside over Eucharistic celebration on the Feast of the Blessed Virgin Mary of Guadalupe in St. Peter's Basilica. Leader of opposition in Parliament questions the factors surrounding Chizuma's arrest. Civil society organization Nutrition Alliance appeals for stakeholders' commitment towards the reduction of all forms of malnutrition. And in other news, funding for DR Congo disarmament promised after talks. We do have the details to the stories and more. Do stay with us. Pope Francis will preside over occasion of the Feast of the Blessed Virgin of Guadalupe, Empress of America and Patroness of the Philippines on Monday the 12th of December in St. Peter's Basilica. In a statement, the Pontifical Commission says that 9 years after the 5th centenary of the apparitions of the Virgin Mary of Guadalupe, Catholics throughout the American continent are called to rediscover the profound meaning of the presence of Jesus Christ through Mary in our lands. We have more details in this Vatican News report read by Bridget Manoga.
Her extraordinary example of inculcated evangelization calls the Catholic faithful to look to Mary, who challenges all Latin American nations to find a way forward for the common good. The Commission notes that St. Mary of Guadalupe, in her dialogue with St. Juan Diego, invites us to appreciate with new strength the beauty and dignity of the prophetic presence of women, the much-needed protagonism of the laity, the option for the poor, synodality as a dynamic dimension of communion, and to adopt a radical orientation of all life towards Jesus Christ. The statement further encouraged the importance of making our families, our countries, and the whole continent a sacred house in which faith in the true God for whom we live can be proclaimed in freedom. The Holy Mass, which will be presided over by the Pope, will be preceded by the recitation of the Holy Rosary and will be accompanied by the choirs of the Sistine Chapel of the Pontifical Colegio Pio Latino Americano and the Pontifical Colegio Mexicano. All residents of Latin American countries living in Italy, as well as those who are tourists or pilgrims in Rome on that day, are especially invited to participate. The faithful who wish to take part in this celebration should apply for tickets, which are always provided free of charge at the prefecture of the Papal Household.
Leader of opposition in Parliament, Kondwani Nankuma, has questioned the underlying factors surrounding Chizuma's arrest, saying these kind of actions by the police is damaging the promotion of democracy and the fight against corruption in the country. According to Nankuma, it is wrong for the police to be arresting people on matters that are already in court, thereby calling on the government to take a necessary stand on the matter to make sure that no other rights of Malawians are being violated by anyone. The ACB Director Martha Chizuma was arrested earlier today at dawn but has been released on police bail. Jacqueline Saidi has more details.
Speaking in an interview today, the leader of opposition in Parliament, Kondwani Nankuma, said what has happened today is sad and a threat to the country's democracy. He said in response to Minister of Justice's statement, the state president, Dr. Lazarus Chakwera, should come to the House so that he can explain further on issues surrounding Chizuma's arrest.
We are asking that since the ministers have failed to convince the House, let the principal come. In the principal, I mean the president, because the president remains the commander-in-chief of the armed forces in the country, including the police. Now, does this really mean that this happened without his knowledge? This is the reason we are moving forward to call the president to this house and will be moving a motion as prescribed in the standing order.
In his ministerial statement, the Minister of Justice, Honorable Titus Mvalo, said Chizuma's arrest was not sanctioned by the government and that neither him nor his fellow ministers knew about it, emphasizing that it was thoroughly ordered and done by other law enforcement agencies on reasons known to them. Mvalo, who condemned what happened on the arrest of the ACB Director General, pledged that government will immediately go to work as it works in taming corruption in the country. He further indicated that the charge against Chizuma has been withdrawn unconditionally and that the Director of Public Prosecution, Steve Kayuni, has been suspended with immediate effect pending a further inquiry on the reasons surrounding Chizuma's arrest earlier today.
We have taken maybe 4 actions. One was to condemn the action of arresting Ms. Martha Chizuma. The other one was to have her released from police custody. The third one was to withdraw charges leveled against her. Fourthly, the DPP or Director of Public Prosecutions has been suspended with immediate effect, and the President has constituted a commission of inquiry to inquire into the matter. So those are 5 positive and decisive actions taken.
Meanwhile, in remarks made in a speech to the National Integrity Committee that was tasked to undertake special assignments in the 20-week anti-corruption campaign, President Lazarus Chakwera has said his administration will not back down in the fight against corruption and will get all perpetrators of the vice to book. He said although he welcomes the reports that Martha Chizuma was released, he wants to see an inquiry conducted to look into the factors surrounding the arrest for any wrongdoers who have abused their office in this incident to be held accountable. Some of the members of the Special Inquiry Committee include retired Chief Justice Lote Zonzi, Public Affairs Committee Chair Monsignor Patrick Tawale, and Mercy Jijere from the Malawi Law Society. For Luntha Television News in Lilongwe, this is Jacqueline Saidi.
In related news, earlier today, a group of civil society organizations called on the Malawi Human Rights Commission (MHRC) to investigate Martha Chizuma's abuse during her arrest while in police custody and hold the culprits accountable. Addressing the media, NGO Gender Coordination Network chairperson Barbara Banda said it is sad to learn that while we're still in the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence campaign, Chizuma was humiliated and ill-treated by being made to kneel down as police officers took her details. We have more details in this report found by Bridget Monoka.
According to Banda, civil society organizations were shocked with the arrest, saying it was illegal and that government is trying to frustrate the fight against corruption in the country. She then called on Malawi Human Rights Commission to institute investigations in the manner Chizuma was arrested today.
What surrounded the arrest was typical of what happens with gender-based violence. So we are calling upon government that the police that were sent and whoever is part of the process of arresting Madam Martha Chizuma, they should be identified and they should be made answerable to their conduct.
Concurring with Banda, National Advocacy Platform NAP chairperson Benedicto Gondowe said the claim that government didn't know about Chizuma's arrest is a big fat lie.
The issue of trust, in our view, is at issue here. And I think circumstances that have evolved over time would clearly indicate that what government is doing is not what it is saying.
The CSOs, which among others include Human Rights Defenders Coalition, NGO Gender Coordination Network, National Advocacy Platform, and Center for Social Accountability and Transparency, further challenged the government to immediately tighten security for the ACB chief Martha Chizuma. Bridget Mwanoka for Luntha News in Lilongwe.
As one way of mitigating gender-based violence in the country, the Malawi Police Service has called on Malawians to report on any form of gender-based violence that they have faced. Speaking today in Lilongwe, Commissioner of Police responsible for research and planning, Barbara Mjenga-Tiga, said through the awareness that they are conducting, it will help them to get more reports from gender-based violence victims, which is in line with the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. Hobson Gambetta has more details.
According to SIGA, it is important for the victims to report to their nearest police station on any form of gender-based violence that they have faced. She further said the operation that they are having is intended to promote awareness in the country to mitigate all forms of gender-based violence involving children and women likely to suffer. She added that if victims are reporting to their nearest police station or any organization which deals with gender-based violence, it will help the duty bearers to assist them better.
The operation that we're having at hand is one of them. With the operation, through the operation, we expect to get as many reports as possible. That's the first thing. And secondly, with the operation, we intend to do as much awareness as possible. So with the awareness comes the reports. So the two are the measures that we have put in place as we are going into the 16 days of activism this year.
The aim of the parade was to let the public know about the operation that Malawi Police Service ladies and all SADC member states are undertaking against gender-based violence against children and women, which is called Operation Pasadi. The parade started at Area 18 interchange to Area 30 Police Headquarters. For Luntha Television News, this is Hope Kambeta.
If you just tuned into Luntha TV, now that you're watching news coming to you live from Bishop Navy Media Center. But before we proceed, Erika with our top stories. Pope Francis to preside over Eucharistic celebration on the Feast of the Blessed Virgin Mary of Guadalupe in St. Peter's Basilica. Leader of opposition in Parliament questions the factors surrounding Chizuma's arrest. Civil society organization Nutrition Alliance appeals for stakeholders' commitment towards the reduction of all forms of malnutrition. And in other news, funding for DR Congo disarmament promised after talks. Proceeding with the news, the civil society organization Nutrition Alliance (CISONA) has challenged stakeholders to be more active in mobilizing the general public to embrace positive changes in their eating behaviors so that we can end all forms of malnutrition. The remarks have been made earlier today when the Alliance announced their plan to hold a Global Day of Action for Nutrition, GDA, aimed at enhancing awareness on nutrition among the general public and emphasizing the importance of investing in nutrition for improved health and well-being of Malawi. CISONA Programs Manager Joseph Gausi said this year's GDA comes against a background of backward narratives towards our conception of food, as at the moment most Malawians are ignorant of the threat of the nutrition-related MCDs, and so it is their hope to change the narrative and encourage health eating behavior and healthy lifestyles, hence calling for collective efforts. We have more details on this report read by Alinafe Peri.
Efforts for the Global Day of Action for Nutrition were previously tailored on emphasizing the special 1,000 days and also the double burden of nutrition, mainly the challenge of undernutrition and micronutrient disorders. But now the country has the triple burden of malnutrition with the increased cases of overnutrition. According to the civil society organization Nutrition Alliance CISONA Programs Manager Joseph Gausi, it is for this reason that this year's GDA is, among other things, aimed at encouraging accountability for nutrition policy commitments among key stakeholders, including the government, and encouraging healthy eating behaviors and healthy living among Malawians, as a way of mitigating against the nutrition-related NCDs.
There are trends that show that people are affected by overnutrition. And so what we want is that these are things that have to do with the eating behaviors of the people, the lifestyles of the people. And so we want to encourage people to adopt good eating practices. We want people to adopt healthy lifestyles.
In her remarks representing the Association of Dietitians in Malawi, ADM Felicitas Mtandi bemoaned the shortage of professional dietitians in the country, as Malawi only has 12 working in the country's central hospitals, saying this has increased the rate at which many Malawians are succumbing to nutrition-related NCDs, as they lack guidance on what food to take. Mtande went further to advise the general public to make a habit going for medical checkups every once in a while, noting that this would minimize the rate at which people die of treatable diseases due to late diagnosis.
A lot of people, we are rushing to herbals. We find that we have a problem. Instead of going to the hospital, we get screened, we get examined, and we are told what is the problem. We rush to the herbals, we take the herbals without appropriate doses, and we come up with complications. So the complications are also increasing the rates of NCDs, like the kidney failures and others. So it's better to go to the hospital to seek for medical information before seeking for other information from other sources.
This year's Global Day of Action will be commemorated under the theme, Enhancing Awareness, Action and Accountability in the Fight Against Malnutrition and Nutrition-Related Non-Communicable Diseases, NCDs.
Stakeholders have asked for a system review in prisons to ensure smooth operations in the fight against tuberculosis and HIV/AIDS among prisoners in the country. Officials from the Malawi Prison Service and National Tuberculosis and Leprosy Elimination Program under the Ministry of Health have opted for decongestion in the country's prisons for convicts to have enough breathing spaces to avoid TB transmission. This has been said early today in Lilongwe during the launch of the Malawi policy on integrated tuberculosis HIV management in prisons. Brennan Mwanza has more details.
High on the list of concerns among the stakeholders is the delayed tabling of prison bill in Parliament, which is reportedly to have been finalized almost 4 years ago, but it is currently at the Ministry of Justice. Dr. Loris Ichuaula, who is the Senior Assistant Commissioner of Prisons, said it is their hope that once the bill is tabled, some amendments will be done to the Act of 1959, which is being used at the moment, and that other critical issues will be resolved. He said prisons may easily be decongested if some of helps them to have proper interventions on those having the disease.
We expect improvement in terms of management of our colleagues in the prison, the inmates in the prisons. We think that this policy is like an advocate, both for the government as well as for our partners in terms of improvement in management of TB and HIV in our prisons.
The stakeholders have since urged government to make sure that every prisoner is drilled in different technical skills for them to support themselves after getting out of prisons, as reports indicate that most offenders come from marginalized societies. For Luntha News in Lilongwe, I am Brennan Mwanza.
Still on health news, feedback on the indoor residual spraying that World Vision International is conducting in Malaga district has proved that the activity is effective, as there is a decline in the number of people suffering from malaria. Some of the beneficiaries that Luntha TV spoke to during a civil society organization visit in some areas revealed that there is change. Felix Masanza, who led a team of CSO members from the districts of Zomba, Blantyre, Lilongwe and Kasungu, said they were satisfied with the community's response on the intervention. Rashida Matandiga has more of the details.
For Elida Olivala, it was not difficult to lead the spray operators in her house in this third round of spraying because she had seen a positive impact from the previous phases. Olivala, who stays with her 3 grandchildren, said she did not need anyone to convince her to have her house sprayed, as they were having challenges with mosquitoes, which led to her grandchildren's frequent illnesses, saying IRS is effective.
The situation is better now. Mosquito problems have been minimized, and the chemicals are so strong that they even kill bedbugs.
Felix Masamba, team leader of the civil society organizations that came to inspect the IRS operations to check its effectiveness, said the community's response is impressive and commended World Vision for the intervention. He said they had to come for the visit in their role as watchdogs to see if the intervention is really helping.
In fact, our main role is to ensure that our communities respond positively, while at the same time we are watchdogs, making sure that whatever is going to the communities is really for the good of the communities. So communities should not just accept the things that may not be up to standard. So our role is we are more like the go-between to see that the activities, the initiatives by the government and the health international organizations that are conducting different programs in the rural areas across Malawi are living up to the standard required for the health initiatives for the people of Malawi.
Despite the successes registered, there are still a few challenges that are being faced, as there are still some refusals due to religious beliefs and different myths, but the success is higher than the challenges, which World Vision believes that with more awareness, it shall register 100% success by the end of the program. World Vision International is implementing the indoor residue spraying program with the aim of reducing malaria prevalence in Balaka district with support from Global Fund. For Luntha TV in Balaka, this is Rashida Matantika reporting.
Now in sports news, with an aim of promoting clean sports and fair competition, the African Union Sports Council AUSC Region 5 has signed a Memorandum of Understanding with African Zone 6 Regional Anti-Doping Organization RADO to fight the use of performance-enhancing drugs. According to the chairperson of AUSC Regional 5 Advisory Board, Isaac Katapola, after signing the MOU at Bingu National Stadium, as a region, they will establish a national action plan to guide the implementation of this initiative. AUSC has since expressed its commitment in protecting clean athletes from those who practice doping so as to promote the use of natural abilities during competitions. Alina Fipiri has more details.
Realizing the need to fully operationalize the anti-doping policy in the African Union Sports Council AUSC Region 5 Games, the Council has entered into a partnership with Africa Zone 6 Regional Anti-Doping Organization RADO to help in providing a clean sporting environment for athletes. According to the chairperson of AUSC Regional 5 Advisory Board, Isaac Katapola, issues of doping have become a global concern that warrants partnerships between sports governing bodies to harness the power of clean sports and fight such vices that are compromising fair competitions. Katapola has since said it is the AUSC's hope to see the MOU working as an enabler and not deterrent to progressive implementation of programs and services.
As a region, we are determined to provide a clean sporting environment for our athletes, to allow them to excel without the use of performance enhancement substances.
In his remarks, the president of RADO, Dr. Nicholas Mnyonga, applauded the transformative leadership of AUSC Region 5 and their zeal to develop clean sports, which will go a long way, hence pledging its undying support towards the call. According to Dr. Mnyonga, governments of member countries should ensure adequate return on investment by these investments in facilities and sports development programs for the promotion of clean sports is one way the AUSC Region 5 and RADO can ensure that benefits of sports development continue to be enjoyed in the region.
The Africa Union Sports Council Region 5 Youth Games are games that we then come in to say we are coming in to assist, to make sure that you conduct education on the athletes, to conduct testing on the athletes. So because there are obligations that have been documented and highlighted in the MOU, everyone then is obligated to make sure they play their part.
RADO leads and coordinates the implementation of anti-doping programs in member countries, but realizing that it is a multifaceted task which requires collaboration, RADO saw it well-fitting to enter into synergy with AUAC Region 5 to leverage political support of sports ministers. Meanwhile, RADO has also signed a Memorandum of Understanding with the Association of National Olympic Committees of Africa, ANOCA Zone 6, where the tripartite of regional organizations will help in driving sports in the region to greater heights. Reporting for Luntha News, this is Alina Fipiri.
Still on sports news, in the morning session of swimming competition that was held earlier today at the Aquatic Sports Complex as part of the Region 5 Youth Games currently underway in Norway, South Africa took the lead as more gold and silver medals went to the competitors from the Rainbow Nation. According to a majority of the results, the Rainbow Nation has walked away with gold and silver medals, whilst Malawian athletes performed poorly in the competition. King Major Kamwendo has more of the details. Now, in international news, a week-long summit to try and restore peace in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, has officially ended with a number of agreements, including fully funding a disarmament and stabilization program for former rebels and the release of prisoners with no criminal records or convictions. Former Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta, the facilitator of the Nairobi peace process, officially closed the meeting, saying he was encouraged that all of the representatives of the rebel groups present said they were willing to lay down their arms. He said the meeting set up a framework that would lead to peace after more than 2 decades of war in the DR Congo, noting that even the country's President Felix Tshisekedi has agreed to form a committee to investigate claims of indiscriminate arrests that have occurred in the country's eastern region. And that also brings us to the end of what we had for you in this edition of our news bulletin. But before we leave, a reminder of our top stories. Pope Francis to preside over Eucharistic celebration on the Feast of the Blessed Virgin Mary of Guadalupe in St. Peter's Basilica. Leader of opposition in Parliament questions the factors surrounding Chizuma's arrest. Civil society organization Nutrition Alliance appeals for stakeholders' commitment towards the reduction of all forms of malnutrition. And in other news, funding for DR Congo disarmament promised after talks. You've been with me, Tandy Wemsomara. Thank you so much for keeping me company, and do continue following the rest of our programs right here on Luntha TV. Goodbye for now, and do stay safe.